Hi, I'm Claire Milliken and welcome to episode 161 of Art This Week. In this episode, we visit the Modern and speak with Gary Simmons about the exhibition Focus Gary Simmons. Now for Art This Week.
Hi, I'm Sally Glass. We're here with Gary Simmons, who is exhibiting works as a part of the Focus series at the Fort Worth Modern. Hello, Gary. Thank you for being with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this installation that we're standing in front of.
Sure. This is Subtlety of a Train Wreck. It's a site-specific installation. This piece actually was installed once before. It was in Los Angeles at the Margo Leavin Gallery. Originally that show was all around sort of kind of passages of time, things like that. I really liked the notion, or rather the moment right before chaos is about to happen. So there's sort of a quiet calm before a big collision like that. So I really loved the romantic connotations to the train and locomotives and Americana and things like that. And, I think everybody sort of has a moment in their life where they think about their life being a train wreck or something is chaotic, and there's always a peaceful calm right before that happens, and that's the kind of tension that I was trying to get with this image was, and specifically to this location, it was kind of a compression of space. So I sort of adjusted it a little bit. Some of the trains got closer to scale. I couldn't tell you if they're exact scale, but they're close to scale. And I really wanted the viewer to feel as if they were in right between those two trains before they collided.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the Starlite.
Sure.
Because you're not actually from Dallas.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
So where in your research did you come up with this movie theater?
Starlite, really I was interested in drive-in theaters, and a lot of the threads in the work go back to Americana. I go to, picket fences, to lawns and lawn ornamentation, chalkboards, schoolrooms, things like that have a real strong Americana sort of feel. And I'm really drawn to the kind of ghosts, architectural ghosts of our past. So drive-in theaters was this sort of really interesting sort of moment in popular cultural history that, where it was kind of like a rite of passage, where there was this kind of economy to it that you could bring a carload full of people and all view it as a collective group. A lot of teenagers meet and do whatever teenagers do at these drive-in theaters, and even if you've never been to one, even if you're removed from a generation that had those, I think that we still look at those either through imagery along the way or history or what have you. They still hold a certain place, but they're kind of ghosts because they don't really exist, I think. Well, some of them do, but they don't exist in the same way that they did before. And I think that, the sprawl of urban areas, as they move out, all these drive-in theaters that were on the edge of town sort of disappear. So I was, in a way, I'm sort of always mining those territories and kind of trying to, hold on to them. And there's something really beautiful and nostalgic about drive-in theaters and the, sort of mid-century kind of architectural details that they did, simplicity of like the poles putting together, the flat roofs and things like that. Starlite, I actually stumbled across. It was through collecting a lot of images from around the country. I was really drawn to the font and the text and all of that. And once we started to put the show together, and Starlite existed in Dallas, it was kind of a perfect sort of, fit.
You didn't make this specifically for this show?
No, this was
from
made
2010?
years ago. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The drawings,
yeah.
The drawings are about the blaxploitation films of the early 70s. A lot of the, when you think about drive-in theaters, you think about sort of cult classic films, a lot of horror films, a lot of exploitation films like Russ Meyer, or some of these blaxploitation films. I think that, or even like Planet of the Apes, films like that. I'm really drawn to films from that period that had a kind of social read to them. That the Planet of the Apes wasn't just this spectacular ape society. It also reflected contemporary society at the time. And same thing I think with the blaxploitation films is that, in certain areas they were read as negative, and then I think that collectively folks took those and kind of flipped it. The power of the image, and what's known as negative is embraced and turned into a positive. And I think that
so that's where the inversion, you're finding the inversion within the imagery.
Exactly, exactly. So I think that those go very nicely together with the drive-ins, because some of these are films that you would have seen in a drive-in, Black Caesar or Superfly or Cleopatra Drones. Those are kind of films that you would see. I also did those as they were an installation in San Francisco, so I painted the entire gallery that brown. And
so these were wall installations?
They were wall installations. These are sort of the drawings for the wall installation. So I covered the entire gallery with text, and it sort of replicated credits rolling on a film, so they were all kind of rolling down and falling off the screen. I'm always drawn to that part of the end of a film where the credits of all those that made the film just goes by really fast. You can barely see who was in it. So there's sort of a disappearance of
like that. Nobody
behind
cares
the
about the reality.
Exactly,
it's not
how
about
it's made.
Right. There's been a significant amount of time between the piece and the installation and a lot of the works in this room. Did you notice, is there anything you can point to that has shifted or evolved from the time you were making those works to now?
That's an interesting question. I think with the wall piece, I've always said that I could do the same image wall drawing, one after the other, and they're all different because they're all hinged on how I feel physically, how I feel emotionally, the kind of urgency to obliterate the image or hold on to it. So they really have a kind of on-site, sort of feel to them. So I really, in that sense, the piece is just as new. Once I start to adjust it to the architecture, the space that it's in, I think it starts to, become alive again for me. So it's not like redoing an old piece or something. It still has that kind of longevity or liveliness to it.
Cool.
We want to thank Gary for speaking with us. More information on him can be found at GarySimmonsStudio.com. We also want to thank The Modern for letting us film in the museum. More information on the museum and the exhibition can be found at themodern.org. We also want to thank Valley House Gallery and Sculpture Garden for letting us film in the garden. They can be found at valleyhouse.com. That's it for Art This Week. Thanks for watching.
I do sculpture, I've done video, I've done skywriting.
You've done skywriting?
I've done skywriting.
What did you write?
I started, the first skywriting was around 98, I think, or 96, somewhere in there, where I was asked to do an outdoor piece, and I said to the guy, like, are you crazy? Like, I do chalk. You can't put that outdoor. So I sat on it for a while, and then I really was fascinated by that, the old memory of skywriting at the beach, and Bobby Loves Mary, and
it's perfect.
It's perfect.
It
disappears.
Everything.
It's here, and it's anonymous. It sort of really worked in the threads of what I do. So.